Hi, my name is Justin Chalfant. I'm the founder here at PatchMyPC. In this video, we're going to review new features released from January through April 2020. We're currently looking at our public roadmap available at patchmypc.com/roadmap. So we're going to be basically walking through the last 4 months of new features and new products that are listed on that roadmap. Now, if you're not familiar with how we ship new features and how we get new requests for new features, if you go to ideas.patchmypc.com, this is going to be the website where our customers can come in and submit new features as well as new products that they want to see added within our product. So for example, we're on the website, we're sorting by the most recent submissions within the portal. So, you can come in and kind of search. You can see which ones are trending, so which ones are getting a lot of votes and traction. You can also come into popular ones. You could come in here and you could search, for example, anything that you might want to see added just to check whether it's already there. And you can see just different data, and you can vote up existing items if you want it to get more popular. And from an engineering perspective, we usually look at a few things while we're evaluating new features and products. The first is going to be how many customers that we see that are actually requesting that. So not necessarily the votes, but internally we also have a bigger breakdown that looks at how many unique customers are actually voting for that item as well. So that's a factor. We do also look at votes. And then there's also complexity. So items that are less complex that we could add pretty quickly, maybe ones that we might ship pretty quickly, even if it's got a low number of votes. So that's kind of our perspective when we're looking at adding these from an engineering perspective. Some of the criteria that we use for adding different requests. So with that said, let's just jump in. So the first two items that we see here are related to Microsoft Intune. So we shipped our first preview build in January. We had been developing it from about the beginning of Q4 2019. So this was, definitely one of the bigger features that we've been working on. And in January, we shipped that to preview. So quick overview what that looks like. This is our new integration to automatically create Win32 apps for Intune. So under the Intune apps tab, this is where you do some basic configurations. You need to give us permissions to your Intune tenant. And that's the configuration piece. But outside of that, it works just like our updates or config manager applications if you're familiar with that. So for example, we could go ahead and automatically create an Intune app right here. So let's just say we wanted to enable 7-zip. We do have quite a few right-click customizations, but for this example, we're just going to go ahead and choose apply and then run a synchronization just to show you what that's going to look like on the Intune side of things. So we can see within our tenant, we only have Notepad++. So we'll just give this about a minute because it will go through download 7-zip and then publish it. So we'll see that get created here in just a couple seconds. All right, so we're back. So that took about 15 seconds to go ahead and create that app. So if I refresh Intune now, we can see that we have a new Win32 app created for 7-zip. So, we handled all that manual packaging time and we pretty much automated all of that. And we can also keep those Win32 applications up to date as well. So that's kind of that big feature. This took a lot of engineering time. It took us probably about 3 months just to get to the preview stage in January. And then we shipped that around late February, early March, when we actually took off that preview label. And now we're ready to go here. All right, so next kind of thing that we see here on the roadmap is we added the uninstall option when creating applications for Configuration Manager. So if we come in here and look at the deployment type, for instance, for Google Chrome, which was created through our tool, we can see under the programs, we automatically added the uninstall type. We also added the repair command as well if it's an MSI-based installer. So now for any applications that we create, if it supports a silent uninstall, we should have that automatically populated within the deployment types programs tab. The next two features and items, these were really still related to kind of that preview Intune build. So we just removed some of the kind of core dependencies that we had around WSUS within our publishing tool. Since they run on the same code base, we have this new option called Standalone Intune mode. And if that's enabled, we basically don't check whether the WSUS service is installed and whether there's a database, because that wouldn't necessarily be required in an Intune standalone mode. So this was really just kind of some back-end things getting ready for that Intune production release. And then within January, it looks like we had 4 products. So we had Microsoft Edge, WinMerge, Remote Desktop Manager Free, and Pool Everywhere. So that's going to be the 4 different products that we added from a new catalog supported products perspective. So jumping into February, we added an option under the Advanced tab where you can get more details about any of the updates published to WSUS. So just to show you what that feature looks like under Advanced, if we run our WSUS Published Updates wizard, this will show you all the third-party updates published to WSUS. So the new feature that we added is this new option called More Details. So if I go ahead and click on that, what that's going to do is it's going to show you quite a bit of information about the actual update published to WSUS. So for example, you can see the update ID, you can see the actual vendor's file name, we can see the command lines that are being used for that update, as well as things like the SHA-1 hash, and then any CVIDs that are listed, as well as things like the description. So just some information. This can be helpful more on the troubleshooting side of things if a customer wanted to look deeper into a specific update, for example. Okay, the next feature, this is actually quite a bit of a time saver for certain situations. So this one here that says bulk editing SCCM application. So what we added under the Config Manager apps options, we have this new option that says run the application manager utility. What that's going to do is it will automatically show you all applications created from PatchMyPC. From here, you can do things like delete all the deployments for any PatchMyPC applications, or you can delete the application. So this will delete applications both from SCCM as well as the content source location for the deployment type. So there's certain situations where you might want to just kind of wipe clean and reset the applications. And it used to be a pretty manual process. You may have to run like a PowerShell script to find everything from PatchMyPC and delete those apps and then manually clean up the content afterwards. But with this new utility, we can find all the PatchMyPC apps and we can delete any assignments for those apps or delete the applications completely from Config Manager. So these next two items, these are just some improvements that we made for republishing updates. So there's a few scenarios where you might need to republish an update. It may have been, the WSUS content folder got deleted, so you can no longer download it into a deployment package. So we made the names of those new republished updates a little bit more consistent where you know exactly the date and time it was republished. And we can also supersede multiple republished updates. So let's say that you had a reason where you had to recreate an update. You could supersede any amount of previously republished updates so you know exactly what the latest version is for whichever scenario that you had to republish that update for. Intune. So we added a new option for Intune to bulk delete Intune assignments and Intune apps. So this is somewhat similar to the bulk editor for SCCM. So if we come into our Intune apps and look at the Intune App Manager utility, this will automatically show any applications created within Intune. So for example, we can see that we have 7-zip, we had Notepad++. We can see Notepad++ is assigned to a group within Intune. So from here, you could either select all of these. You can choose to delete assignments or delete multiple applications within Intune without having to manually do that from the Intune console. So definitely a time saver if you ever had a scenario where you wanted to clean up, any of those applications that might have been created. So this next one, this just added the ability to search for different groups when you're creating an assignment. So one of the cool features that we have within our tool, let's say that we wanted to go to 7-zip, and let's go ahead and enable the 32-bit version of 7-zip. So if you click on Manage Assignments, you have the ability to go out and search within your Azure AD groups and automatically assign those. So we did add a new search option here where you can go and filter in various groups within Azure AD. So let's go ahead and apply that, and let's get that publishing just to see that assignment a few minutes later. So while we're waiting for that to publish, so detection method for applications should not use hard-coded paths. So for example, we previously had within our PowerShell detection method script for our deployment type, we had a hard-coded path for the CCM logs. So we improved that script to make it a variable in case you had the OS installed on a drive that is not C, for instance. So not very common, but we did improve that based on that customer request. This one is a new right-click option available for Config Manager apps. So if we go and look at our Config Man apps, let's go ahead and look at, let's say, Google Chrome. We added a new option where you can make it a featured app within Software Center. So basically this new option that says display as featured app, that corresponds to the deployment type. So let's go ahead and look under, actually that corresponds to the application. So if we look at the application, Google Chrome, and then if we look under the Software Center tab, that would allow you to automatically check this option to display as a featured app in Company Portal. So it's actually Software Center, but for some reason that says Company Portal on the console. So that's the same term that we use for our right-click option for that scenario. This next one was retaining any requirements. So if you went into an application that we created, and let's say that you configured a custom requirement within the deployment type of that application, the way it worked before, if you had the option set to automatically update previous applications, we would reset any requirement that you added after we created that app. So they would basically be lost. Let's say we went from Google Chrome 79 to version 80, you would lose any custom requirements. So now, even if you go to an application we create and you add like a custom requirement, like primary device equals true, for instance, that should automatically be retained whenever that application is updated in place. And then we just added 2 new products that month. So we added Cisco AnyConnect and SketchUp Pro. The next one will allow you to see if your applications are part of any dependencies or task sequences. So that's part of our Config Manager apps and the bulk editing utility. So now you can see whether or not any of these applications are part of any dependencies. So sometimes if you try to delete an app and it's in a task sequence or a dependency, you might have some issues. So this would allow you to quickly filter and see which of the applications created from us are used within different dependencies or task sequences. So just a new column that we added there that can be quite helpful for certain situations. We added support for our new Intune only subscription. So this is about the time when Intune went to production. Just kind of an internal change there where we added support for the new Intune only subscription if you don't want to use our product with Configuration Manager. This one was just a small UI edit, nothing really to talk about there. We do also retain dependencies now as well. So that was kind of part similar to the way that we now retain requirements. If you add any custom dependencies, that will be carried over whenever the application is updated in place. And then we added about 6 new products. All right, so now in the month of April, so we're not currently done with developing in April. We still have about a week left. So this might have a few new features by the time this video releases. But we do also now show any new Intune assignments within our team's webhook. So let's see if we can see what that looks like, for example. So in this case, you can see that we did have a right-click option to add an assignment within that Intune application. So this is a new column that will now include showing which groups we automatically assigned the Intune application for when we're either creating that app or updating that app. So that was just a request from a customer. They wanted to see any of the Azure AD groups that are being assigned. This one was more of a bug fix that we got from a customer, so I won't talk too much into that one. It just improved the WSUS cleanup for any unreferenced updates to support any long character path. So just kind of a back-end bug fix here. This was just improving the logging. So this was for Jan, one of the Microsoft MVPs. He's looking to do some interesting things with Azure automation, and he needed to go parse some log files and have some items set in a certain way. So that's just kind of a more of a logging kind of back-end feature for that scenario. For the Intune group, so we actually made quite a few improvements within this user voice request. When you go through and let's say that you click on within the Intune apps, let's say that you go and you want to add assignments. So we actually improved this filtering quite a bit. So previously it would only show the first 50 groups, and that was kind of a Graph API default return for groups. So we now display, I think, 199, or I'm sorry, maybe 999 groups by default. We can also filter in any result. So if you want to quickly filter in, you can do that. You can also, if you know the name of your group and you have a large list of groups where you don't want to have to go reload a bunch of times, you could come in here and you could query real time based on the group's name that you want to assign the Intune application to. So just quite a few things where we can, filter by descriptions, by the name, and search real time against a specific query. We added an option for applications that require offline content, like because they're licensed. So Java is an example here. When we right-click that, we now have an option to open the local content repository where any of those manual download apps have to be staged. So just a quick way to jump in and see where is the actual content location that's defined within the Advanced tab for the local content path, just to verify, if there was a new update to an app and you got a Teams notification or email, you could quickly open that path if you wanted to. Within the Modify Published Updates wizard, we also added criteria for superseded. So let's go ahead and open that up. So you can now come in here and just kind of sort by the superseded column in case you ever wanted to manually decline third-party updates, maybe based on the superseded yes status, for example. All right, so this one was actually a pretty popular request. This is one of the new features that Cody, one of our newer software engineers, worked on. This was actually the first feature that he shipped based on customer request. So what this is within the Config Manager database scan utility for updates, we can now filter to a specific collection. So for example, when we query to see which apps are out there, we can choose this browse option for device collection. And you can choose specific collections if you wanted to filter the results to different machines. Within this, one of the backend changes that we did, let me just jump over to one of our bigger dev databases, and let's go ahead and choose query again. Now, this is querying a ConfigMan site of about 20,000 clients, and we can see that's going to take about probably 5 to 10 seconds. So as part of the evaluation of the device collection limiting, we also made some pretty drastic improvements to the performance of the SQL scripts. So for example, we can see this has, right around 20,000 devices that we queried against, and it improved it by about a factor of about 50 or more for the performance of scanning all 300 and some plus applications for checking whether or not they're installed. So kind of two things that were pretty cool there, limiting by collection, as well as some pretty massive performance increases in those queries. We made some improvements to the Intune deadline. So for example, if we come in here and let's say that, for 7-zip, let's say that we wanted to add a assignment. When you click the all users for whichever group that you added in here, let's go ahead and do another one. And let's say we want to deploy this to HR. If you click on that, you can get some more options around the availability time for when you're publishing that application. Basically allowing you to do like an offset of whenever that application gets published, you can make it available, maybe one day after, for example. This one was actually pretty helpful. So add assignments if they're added after the fact. So basically the way it used to work is, let's say that you already had, 7-zip created and you added a assignment in after it was already created. So let's go ahead and do that and click save. The way that it used to work is it would not automatically add that assignment to Intune until either that application was updated, so like a new version came out, or if you deleted and recreated that application. But one of the improvements that we made here is during the next synchronization, if we detected that you went in and you changed something locally to add a different group, it will automatically assign that without the need of having to recreate the application, for example. There we go. So we can see that that application is automatically assigned. And now it has both of those groups, and we didn't have to come in and delete the app or have to wait for it to update. That was real time. If you make a change locally, it won't have to delete the app. It will automatically detect that it's not deployed to that new group that you chose, and then it will automatically deploy it for you. And then this past month of April, Andrew did quite a few new applications. So we probably have about 12 apps, it looks like, that we added. So with that said, that pretty much covers the last 4 months. Of course, if you have any feedback or any new features or products that you want to see added, make sure to go to our ideas portal and submit a new request, and we'd love to hear from you.